and I was very involved with this autism support group. Had various roles. We had a summer camp for kids with autism, and we had peer buddies. And so I had my son to be a peer buddy, you know. And so that was one of the opportunities that allowed him to have that experience to work with kids that were a little bit different. And he was patient with his siblings. He was patient with his sister and his brother.
Yeah.
So that was, you can just see your kid. Every kid is different, but you can tell their heart. He just has that nurturing, caring heart. So it was
Beautiful. Yeah.
the fourth son. He's also had the opportunity to spend time with his sister. My first child, she still lives at home, and so just teaching him that to be patient with her. Things are a little bit different. She's not your typical 27-year-old. And also just having him be around other peers and kids younger than he is that are different, and just teaching him to just be patient, to be loving, to be kind. They see that. My husband and I both are like that. And so
Yeah.
it wasn't difficult to do.
What's up, good people? It's Eric Taylor, Big E Astrology, back with another amazing Knowledge is Love Astrology podcast. This is episode 259. Woo! Can you imagine? Today I have such an amazing guest, Beyond Radiant Health Coaching, a nutrition coach. She is a former retired nurse, and I know she was good. I've seen her birth chart. And she is an amazing author, and we're going to find out all about it. Today, I welcome to the show, Miss Sonia Bell. How are you today, Miss Sonia?
I am wonderful, Eric. Thanks for that amazing introduction. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
This is great and exciting. And so let me tell the audience, I don't know if I saw you first. Probably my wife. She's kind of like my manager or assistant.
Mhm.
She's my everything. She
Yeah.
saw your Instagram page and then showed it to me, and we were both just like, oh wow, I love what this woman is doing. And truth be told, we have both 4 kids and some similar stuff going on. So
Mhm.
I was just like, wow, I am all about health and nutrition. So I want to start off with, who is and what is Beyond Radiant Health Coaching?
Thank you for asking. Beyond Radiant Health Coaching was born just 2 years ago.
Oh,
Yeah, it's very fairly new. And I decided, honestly, it was something that I wasn't really sure about initially. I'm 52 now. And so right before I turned 50, I decided to go back and become a nutrition health coach, which was, like, okay, what are you doing? You're almost 50 years old. What are you doing? But I did it anyway.
hey, that's great.
Yeah, so now with Beyond Radiant Health Coaching, I help parents connect the dots between food, behavior, my own personal experience. I have, like you said, two of my kids have special needs. And so I have, for the last 20 years, I have consulted with parents, family, friends, what have you, regarding nutrition and food. And I just decided to just do this as a profession. And so that's what I do now. Like, I'm so passionate about teaching parents other solutions, like other alternative solutions. And it's so simple because it comes down to food and nutrition, but we don't always think of that. And we don't always have people explaining to us more details regarding the ingredients and what we eat. And so I have learned that through our own personal experience and journey, that it really does make a difference. And it truly can be that light switch to turn it on, or turn it off, depending on, your health condition, I should say.
That is so true, right? And think about how important that is right now as we're getting ready to get into holiday season with Halloween, Thanksgiving, and Christmas,
Mm-hmm.
where we don't always eat the healthiest stuff,
Mm-mm.
right? And so now with your program, you also do this with children and adults, correct?
Right. I have a lot of my clients are women and they have digestive issues.
Mm.
So I do have a passion for helping women to dissect, what they're eating and how that making those changes on a consistent basis can better help them with their digestive issues. And they see great results.
Now, do you work with a lot of people over Zoom or over the internet?
Yes, everything is virtual. Yeah,
Okay.
everything is virtual. So I love that. I love the fact that it's convenient for everybody.
Yeah, no, it's no, no, and see, okay, so you know the reason why I asked you that, right? Because I see it in Miss Sonia's birth chart, you guys. She is the Cancer rising, the Taurus sun in the 11th house, which represents the internet, groups and organizations, our hopes, dreams, and wishes. And she's the Leo moon in the second house. So clearly, this woman has a heart for healing children. The second house is an indicator of our food and speech. So that Leo moon tells me, and hopefully, I'm not wrong with this one, but not only do you have a heart for helping children, but helping them with nutrition because that Leo moon speaks to, right, having the solar food, the fruits and vegetables. So
Yes,
how important is fruit and vegetables in our diet and with working with children and in your program?
extremely important. Extremely. Diet is such a key player, so foundational, right? And fruits and vegetables, that's key. And a lot of times we don't understand the importance of that. It's lacking. We don't eat quite enough fruits and vegetables. So for me, what I like to educate parents about are just not only fruits and vegetables, but we have to also be aware of the pesticides that are sprayed on our fruits and vegetables.
Oh,
So I always, try to encourage my parents, if you can, if your budget allows, please
yeah.
get organic. Certain things, right? Like your salads, your leafy greens, your berries, your apples, your pears, things that you have to eat and bite into. If you can, you really should get organic. Like the melons, watermelon, your bananas, things that you have to peel. There's a tough outer covering. It's not as crucial to have that be organic. That's okay, but it's so important. We don't realize the effects of the pesticides, especially with the group that I work with, these neurological diseases, disorders. So
Yeah.
it's so important because it's going to impact your brain and your brain health.
That's so true. And plus, I think one thing that we have to realize, right, in medical schools, they don't, if you break a bone or you need a surgery, you need to go to the doctor in the hospital. But otherwise, you need to work with people like yourself and homeopathic, naturopathic doctors, because a lot of times, right, we've been lied to about so much. That's what Pluto and Capricorn is doing right now. It's digging up all the lies and secrets from the structures and systems in our lives. And we see it in every place, especially in health. They lied about the food pyramid, right? People
Mhm.
shouldn't be having these sugary cereals for breakfast in the morning. That's the
Mhm.
worst way to start your day. And kids go to school and then they have this sugar rush and then they crash.
Mhm.
And then they may have some more sugar with the terrible school lunches.
Mhm.
So if someone came to you and said, well, how should I start off my day with my kids? What should I feed them? Like, give us an insight. Like, what types of things do you start them off with?
Well, I would suggest they start with a healthy protein, definitely not the sugar, not the sweetens, but, I would suggest some type of like chicken sausage, turkey sausage. I do a lot of with ingredients. And so I like to teach my clients about certain preservatives to be aware of.
Mm,
Like you can't even just go to the grocery store and pick up a package of turkey bacon, for example, and think that that's healthy.
no.
So I have to really take time to we go through food ingredients and I teach them how to read the label. So to answer your question, I will teach them about a healthy protein, maybe like a veggie omelet. And I know sometimes kids can be picky. And if they wanted to, like, and their health, if there's cereal and they have to have the cereal, there's a healthier option for the cereal.
Yeah.
Organic, that doesn't have the artificial colors, artificial preservatives, and doesn't have all the sugar. So there are some healthier versions of that. And how about we may start with, I like to do homemade muffins for my family, and so you can control the ingredients.
Yes.
So what you're putting in there, you control the amount of sugar, the even type of sugar.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
So I definitely would start with something like that.
I love that you said that because my wife does that with different things, and we'll teach the boys how to bake or cook sometimes. And when you read the ingredient list, the amount of sugar that they want to put in these things, you feel like, oh my gosh, that would rush me to the hot. It's like it's insane.
Mm-hmm.
And so we usually cut it by half and sometimes more than half. Or like you said, my wife will switch it out for different ingredients.
Right.
And I think that that's so crucial and important because, as I always tell my audience and my clients, nowhere are we victims.
Right.
We're not victims here in our daily lives. We're not victims in the heavens or in the spiritual realm. And so we have got to step up and initiate and take control of what we put in our own mouths. It's so crucial. So give us some insights on, like, how did you start to, because once you got the diagnosis, you said, right, your son, you got a diagnosis that he was autistic, right?
21 years ago. So
Wow.
that was a long time ago. Yeah, 21 years ago, we received the diagnosis of autism, and we knew, excuse me, he is our second son.
Yeah.
So by the time I got his diagnosis, he was the third child, the second son, and we knew something was different with him. We had 2 different speech therapists do an evaluation to tell us where he was. It was like he stopped hearing us. Like we thought it was his hearing. We took him. We're in the Atlanta area.
Okay.
So I took him to the Atlanta area school for the deaf, and they did a hearing evaluation, and it came back. Everything was normal, no fluid, no inflammation, everything checked out great. Both speech therapists, they said that I think you need to take him to have him further tested, evaluated to rule out autism. So we did that. We got the referral. We did that. We just needed to know what it was. We knew something was happening. Something definitely had changed. He had a small vocabulary, and he stopped talking. So after we got the diagnosis, I was honestly, some parents say that when they got that diagnosis, they were, it was not easy, but it was something that I was okay with. I knew I could pray, and I prayed, and I asked God to help me. I said, okay, Lord, you bless me with this child. Now I need help, because it took us 3 years to get pregnant with the first child. And so I was just grateful to be a mom, quite honestly.
I know that's right. Yeah.
I was just grateful. And once we got that diagnosis and I said that prayer, everything changed, Eric. Everything changed, because then a few months later, I met this holistic doctor. He was one. And when I tell you there are like little miracles along the way, oh my gosh.
Always, yeah.
There were so many miracles. He came to speak to our women's ministry that night. One night, a Thursday night, I wasn't going to go. My husband was like, you need to get out of the house. You need to go. So I went. After he did his little speech, his spiel about women's health, he had a Q&A session. And my mind was really focused on my son. So I asked him about autism. And little did I know, this doctor was certified to work with kids on the autism spectrum.
Only God. See, that type of stuff, oh my God. And it gives me chills. And I think I shared this with you, but I taught in the Bronx in New York at Lavelle School for the Blind with multiply severely disabled children for 10 years.
Yeah.
And so, and you saw I just had on my podcast a guest, a former coworker who's a speech pathologist, Priya. And, we worked with a multitude of children and multitude of disabilities. And I worked with speech and OT and PT. And nutrition is, it's everything.
Yeah.
When you have a kid on the spectrum, you've got a fighting chance if you put the right things in, because it changes the gut health, right? The gut brain relationship is so important, and people don't realize food is medicine.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Food
Yes.
is medicine, you
I-
know? And so when you really, and I love another thing that you said, you have to read the ingredient list.
oh yeah.
We cannot trust. I mean, let's be honest. I hate to just come out so blunt and say it, but I tell people they talk about World War III. I said World War III has already begun. It's been
Mhm.
going on for decades. It's spiritual warfare, because you got fluoride in the water, you've got toxins sprayed in the air, and you've got nothing but chemicals and poisons in our food.
Yep.
It's in not just the fruits and veggies, it's in the meat. And when
Mhm.
we're talking about the organic and stuff like that, listen,
Mhm.
you need grass-fed beef and grass-raised this, and a lot of unfortunately, a lot of the meat has got a lot of bad stuff with it too, because it can create mucus.
Yeah.
So, okay, so this is fascinating to me. You have your Cancer rising. So in your fourth house is Libra. You have Uranus and the true black moon Lilith there. Now, was your mother very like intuitive and very instinctual, like mother? Like, how was she raising you? And did you get any insights about health and nutrition from your mom? Or did she have any like different healing gifts that you may know of or remember?
No, she doesn't. My grandmother, I do remember. Um, I remember a few times she would go outside and pick some herbs or
Yes,
something.
yes, yes.
And I remember one in particular because I think I had a toothache or something, and it smelled awful. And she made a necklace, and I had to wear it.
Oh my
Oh
God.
my gosh. So I do remember a few things like that, more so from her.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's still the mother's lineage, and that's what we see in the fourth house. So basically, your grandma, my grandma, all of our grandmas, that's what they did. My grandmother in Tampa, Florida, they would cut chickens' heads off in the backyard, and she'd make homemade bread and ice cream and this and that. But it was always those home remedies.
Mhm.
They cooked, they baked, they grew things. So
Mhm.
I think that that's fascinating, because just like your grandma, you're
Mhm.
you're doing stuff now. You
Mhm.
know,
Yep. Yep.
that you're doing stuff now. And did you, at what point did you feel that the nursing was not resonating with you anymore, or did you just feel like it's time to retire? Like, what was that situation?
Oh, that is such a good question. Thanks for asking that. That happened, like I told you, it took us a few years to get pregnant. And so we adopted our daughter.
Okay.
And at the same time that we adopted her, I was still working, but at that time I was a home health nurse. And I found out that I was pregnant with our first son.
Okay.
I gave birth to three boys.
Right.
And I knew my mother heart, my maternal heart, I knew that I wanted to stay home. Like our daughter, she was a preemie. We didn't know her when she was that young, but she weighed 1 pound 9 ounces.
Oh.
She had a lot of medical issues. We got her at the age of 13 months old. So
Oh.
still she had a lot of issues. And I just knew, like I told my husband, okay, it's time. It's time. Like I want to be at home with these kids. They need me. And so
That's right.
that's what happened. That was my decision. I decided to do that. And it was a season. I did nursing for a season. I'm grateful for that. But I needed to spend that attention and time with the kids. I didn't know at the time. The first son was okay. And then the second son, he was born, he was okay. But then at the age of 2, he was diagnosed with autism. So hey, and now we have 4.
Okay. And now the fourth son, everything
He's
was
fine. Yeah.
okay. So then, how did you, right, 4 children? How did you teach the second and the fourth how to kind of respect, have compassion, and really be helpmates or great siblings to the daughter and the second son, because that's
Okay.
an interesting dynamic.
That's very interesting. Now there's the first three kids are 2 years apart. Okay. So, and it was 9 years and we have the fourth son. So I'll speak to the second son.
Okay.
I'll speak, well, the first son, my second child.
Yeah.
So with him in our community at that time when they were younger, I was a part of our local autism support group. So being a part of and I was very involved with this autism support group. I had various roles. We had a summer camp for kids with autism, and we had peer buddies. And so I had my son to be a peer buddy, and so that was one of the opportunities that allowed him to have that experience to work with kids that were a little bit different. And he was patient with his siblings. He was patient with his sister and his brother.
Yeah.
So that was, you can just see your kid. Every kid is different, but you can tell their heart. He just has that nurturing, caring heart. So it was
beautiful. Yeah.
The fourth son, he's also had the opportunity to spend time with his sister, my first child. She still lives at home. And so just teaching him that, to be patient with her. Things are a little bit different. She's not your typical 27-year-old. And also just having him be around other peers and kids younger than he is that are different. And just teaching him to just be patient, to be loving, to be kind. They see that. My husband and I both are like that. And so it wasn't difficult to do,
Yeah. But that's so important because, separate from the two with special needs, the other two, they go out into the world with not only a big heart, but such compassion and empathy and emotional intelligence. It's like begets, because they will go out and do amazing things, healing in the world. And I know I saw this with families I worked with, but I saw it with my boys, with their grandmother, right? With my mother having dementia in the wheelchair, and them being patient with her, and her not being the traditional grandma,
right,
but still was able to dote on them and love them, even not being so verbal. And I've seen like how they are with working with her, how they are when they see people out in the community that have disabilities, or with just younger kids. They're so kind and patient. So, the modeling that you and your husband did, kudos to you guys, because, those two boys, that's going to last them a lifetime.
Yeah.
So, okay. So in your program, explain the different options. And I want you to share with us all your information. It'll be down below for everyone to check out in the description, and then you can share it again at the end. But how can people follow you on IG and then also book with you? Just share all your information and get into the services.
Okay. Well, on IG, I am at Beyond Radiant 422. April 22nd is my birthday. So Beyond Radiant 422.
I love it.
So
that's the day after my mama.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. That's right. That's exactly right. So at Beyond Radiant 422, that's my Instagram handle. Facebook, it's Beyond Radiant Health Coaching. And I do have YouTube. I just started that this year. So it's so fun. Like, I'm just growing my YouTube audience. But that's Beyond Radiant. On YouTube, it's Beyond Radiant.
Great.
Yeah. Right. And then my website is Beyond Radiant HC.com. H as in health, C as in coaching. So Beyond Radiant HC.com. And as far as my services, I provide one-on-one private coaching. Like we talked earlier, everything is virtual via Zoom. So I like that, they can be in California, I'm in Georgia, it doesn't really matter. Yeah. So we do offer that private one-on-one coaching for parents that have kids that, whether or not that child has been diagnosed with anything, if they just have behavior issues and they are interested and they want to know what else can they do. Like, Is it the food? Can you help me, coach me on what to buy and what to not buy and things like that? And so we do that. And I also have the same type of one-on-one coaching for adults. Primarily, I work with women who have digestive issues, and I do have an online dispensary where I offer recommendations for supplementation, and
Oh,
I do that. And what else did you ask me?
well,
Virtual
well, I was
nutrition.
going to say in terms of the program, like how many weeks, or do you customize it to each client's needs? Do you work with sometimes? Because think of it, I know like this, right? If you've got a child and they've got to eat a certain way, sometimes the whole family needs to shift to meet the child's needs so they're not feeling alone and ostracized. So do you kind of come up with like a whole family meal plan, or like how does that work with your experiences?
Well, it depends on the family. Like you said, everyone is different.
Yeah.
And it's a six, not 6 weeks, but it's more like 6 sessions. So it's 6 sessions, whether it's the adult or the child, it's
Okay.
6 sessions. We do offer like a la carte services. I have found like sometimes someone may come to me and they have some knowledge, but they just need a little bit of help. So they may not want 6 sessions. So we thought, well, let's just tailor it to meet everyone's needs. So we do have, if they just want to pop in, for like a 30-minute or a 50-minute chat, they can just pay for a la carte and we can do it that way. But a lot of times they need more than that. So we do offer those 6 sessions and we do that. And it depends on, we do talk about the entire family. It's a holistic, it's a whole thing. And you have to support, when you support the child, you're supporting that family.
Yes.
Yeah, and so we do oftentimes we'll talk about when we change the diet, what does that look like for your family, and what are your meals going to look like? And so we go into that. And not everybody is the same. Like every family may not need to do gluten-free or dairy-free, like I try to take my personal opinion out of that, and we look at we do a food diary. Now I do a food diary with everyone. Like I suggest they keep a log of what they're eating,
Mm,
what they're experiencing, even their stool pattern. I feel like there's such a direct link, and that's such a clue, to what's going on with you.
that's
If
very important.
you have constipation issues, or so yeah, I definitely make sure we talk about all of that.
So wow, and that's perfect because I'm already envisioning um, different people or families that may be able to benefit from that. So let's say you just have a really hyper first or second grader. Um, and maybe the school is putting pressure on the family, trying to, because I know sometimes the schools, they like to do this, they like to label the kids, oh, he's got ADHD and this and that. And sometimes it's like, you know being in the classroom, I can honestly tell you, I'd like to redesign schools because, you know, most boys, the testosterone is off the roof when they're so little. And yeah, any kid would appear like they have ADHD, especially boys are going to be different from girls. They don't need to be sitting down, crisscross applesauce, or at a desk all
Mhm.
day and not outside playing in the sun. That's
Yeah,
going to make them crazy.
yeah.
So that's how sometimes they get labeled. And then, of course, they love to label, right, the
Mhm,
melanated children even more, especially the
mhm,
boys. So
mhm,
how do you tell parents, or maybe guide them and help them? Because one, like you said, the sugars and the dyes, those cereals. But even
mhm,
I think about Halloween, right? In
mhm,
my house, we have a rule: you get Halloween night and maybe another day or two, and then
mhm,
you get to pick a couple of candies, and then the
mhm.
rest we're either donating or we're throwing away.
Wow. Yeah.
Because no, and I'll tell you why, because I see it every year. This
Mhm,
is the worst racket going, because I feel
mhm,
like it's just for the medical system. Because what's Halloween? It's October 31st. Right
mhm,
before then, you're getting into fall and winter. The immune system, the weather's changing, and then you're going to give these kids a ton of sugar to weaken their immune systems and be more prone to getting colds and sick. It's a perfect storm. So how do you give insights? And this would be a perfect time for you to share a message for parents. What are your thoughts, and give them some tips or experiences that you've already gone through in terms of how do you do more of a healthy Halloween or trick or treating, or just in general with all those different things?
Eric, you're speaking my language. Like, oh my gosh, I have, I'm sitting here like, wow, I feel the exact same way, the exact same way. And my kids now, my youngest is 14 now. And
Okay.
so the older kids, they're young adults.
Yeah.
But when they were younger, we did that. Like they went trick-or-treating, but they were allowed certain amount of candy. We would pour it all out, on the living room floor, and they would get a certain ones. And my two that have special needs now, their bag was different. Like, so they went, but I made sure I particularly went in and removed certain candies, like, the lollipops, anything with all those colors, Skittles and M&Ms and all
Oh,
that. We took all that away. They didn't even have that option. And so maybe Tootsie Rolls or something that wasn't quite, as bad,
right, right.
you have to do, you have to
That's so
gauge,
smart.
right?
That's so smart.
I know you have to gauge. You can't take everything away, but that's what we would do. And they got a little bit extra the following days, but a lot of that candy I put in a bag, and either I donated it to like a homeless shelter or another shelter, or it went in the trash.
That's right.
And that's what we did. So we did the exact same thing. And that's what I try to encourage parents to do, the same thing, and have guidelines. So for us, another thing that we would do, we would let them have the experience of going trick-or-treating, right?
Yeah.
But then I would go to different stores and buy healthier versions of lollipops. Like there
Mhm.
are candies out there that you can buy that don't have the artificial colors and flavors. They're flavored with, turmeric, or fruits and vegetables.
Oh,
And so
wow.
so that's what I would do. So I would spend the extra time and money to do that. I mean, we make sacrifices for our kids. So that's what I would do. Go out there, have a special little bag for them. So when you're taking away candy, you can also add to what you have just removed,
I
and
love that.
toys, like why not give them little toys, little trinkets, stickers, little activity books. It doesn't always have to be about the candy.
So true, Sonia. See, I love that because parents, especially nowadays, they feel so guilty, and they got the disease of not being able to say no. And I laugh because I feel like my wife and we're the tough parents, like in our
Yeah.
community. And I compare myself to my mother, and I feel like Mr. Softy. But
Yeah.
it is important that you do say no, because health comes first, and
Hmm.
we love them. But also, you said something perfect. You take away, but then you give back and give them healthier choices or other options. And
Hmm.
so, how does that work when you share this with some of your clients? Are they brave enough? Are they ready for it? Is it challenging for them?
It's challenging. They are grateful for the suggestion, for the idea. They are grateful. A lot of times they haven't thought of that. So they are grateful. And, some try it, and some are, a little resistant, but, they all have their options, their agency to do how they please. But we do offer that as a suggestion. And like I said, some are grateful for it.
Yeah. And I know it's hard, right? I think that we all know everybody gets real protective and indignant and personal when you're talking about their children. But I think that, I don't think I know that we've got to do better,
Hmm.
right? Because I see sometimes parents complain about their kids, but I'm like, but wait a minute, you're the one bringing the food in the home. They're not out there shopping. So you got to, the adults have got to have the power and the control, and you've got to change what you're giving them.
It
They're going to
starts in
eat,
the grocery store.
they're going to eat what you give them. So like we don't buy soda. We
Hmm.
don't bring it in the house. So it's not even a conversation,
That's right.
and it wasn't until they went to school for us that they started to get all the candy, because we didn't even buy the candy.
Yeah.
Once they go to school, this is why, listen, this is why homeschool is on the rise.
Yeah.
And especially in the Black and brown communities, it's increasing
Mhm.
more and more in the last 4 years.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this: how do you reach the fathers? I know you work with women and digestion, and you're mainly probably working with women and the kids, but sometimes maybe fathers aren't around, but for the fathers that are around, are there roles, or are the wives usually just trying to get the information and influence the fathers? But have you ever dealt with like a single dad?
Yeah. I've had a few. Yep. And the single dads, they are so special.
Yeah.
Like they are really carrying a burden. I shouldn't say burden. They're carrying a load, right? And so I have had a few, and I will work with dads, but I have had a few, and they do have a very heavy load that, and I mean, not to say moms don't have a load,
Right,
but
right, right.
moms, sometimes it's just what we do. It's just, we're just born for this, right? And the dad that's a single dad, a lot of times, like in this one particular situation, he didn't want to be a single dad, having to deal with a son that was on the spectrum, and his son was severe, had a lot. He was heavy, and what he had to help him with and support him, and he had to um, didn't have a lot of family support, which is so sad. Like, we need our community to help us. Community can be your family, your friends, your church groups, your neighbors, whoever, support groups. And this particular one his community was very small. So
Wow. So was he able to take your guidance and instruction and implement it and all that stuff?
he did the best he could,
Yeah.
the
Oh,
best he
God
could.
bless.
Yeah. Hmm.
It's hard. I know. I've seen it when in my school where it was mainly the mothers, but there was always here and there a couple of dads, and they were, you could see it on their faces. They're like, they got it's like they have an invisible ink on their foreheads. Help. Because, well, for you guys, it is innate, right? You guys
Yeah.
are natural, nurturing, and caring. But I think, dads are really good, especially when the boys, start turning 14, 15. I see
Hmm.
it by now with my 15-year-old. He's starting to tune his mother out. So then
Hmm.
I've got to step up more and be like, listen, watch yourself, watch your
Hmm.
tone. You know what I mean? And so fathers have such an important role for all genders. And I'm a big supporter of, marriage and husband and wives, and especially, hey, you and your husband, me and my wife, we're rare nowadays, right?
Hmm.
Two, black parents and a black home, black family and love. It unfortunately, it shouldn't be, but it's becoming statistically more rare, and it's so
Hmm.
healthy and important because you don't realize you model, right? The kids
Hmm.
are watching you 24/7,
Yep.
everything you do, everything, so that's why, like, if we have a disagreement, we try not to do it in front of the kids.
Hmm.
It's important. So let me ask you, in terms of you and your health journey, who was young 10-year-old Sonia? And not only could she ever imagine what she's doing now, but how was your eating and your health growing up?
Oh, wow. Young.
Be honest.
I know. Okay, young 10-year-old Sonya, she was very shy. Like, she was very quiet and shy. I feel like I didn't get out of that shyness until I was like junior high.
Okay.
So young Sonya was shy. Her eating pattern, I ate what was given to me. Like, I am a Southern girl, so I did not eat like I eat now. I will
Okay.
tell you that. It was
Did you
fried.
like a lot of fried food and stuff
Oh, it
like
was a lot of fried foods.
Okay, because I asked that. Let me just stop right there. Because the Leo moon in the second house, that can be prone to liking like, fried foods, things like
Well, wait a minute. I didn't say I like a lot of fried foods. Growing up, I ate a lot of fried foods.
ah,
So now I don't tend to, and I'll say, Eric, I cook differently. So if I want, let's say, fried chicken, homemade chicken tenders, I make that myself. I don't deep fry it like my grandmother would
yeah,
deep fry it. I don't do it like that. So I may use gluten-free flour, and I will make my own batter, and I'll use avocado oil
yeah.
instead of Crisco.
No, that's right. No, every ingredient matters. Thank you for
Yeah.
saying that. So, okay,
Mhm.
so you were shy, and then now did you play sports growing up?
Mm-mm.
And was nutrition, I mean, obviously you got into nursing, so take
Mhm.
us on that journey.
Okay, so nursing, I have an aunt. Well, she passed in 2018, but I had an aunt who was a nurse. And so I loved and admired her. And also, when my grandmother was ill, so at some point, I forgot exactly how old I was, but in my teenage years, I was in the home taking care of my grandmother, and she had home health nurses to come and take care of her.
Mm.
And she had this one particular nurse that was, we really just attached. We became so attached to her. She was so sweet and loving. And when my grandmother passed, she was there. So it was special. So just seeing all of that, I knew I wanted to help to take care of people. Like I wanted to do that. I think that's kind of where that nursing bug, I guess, came from, just from my aunt's example and then taking care of my grandmother.
Wow, that's special. I like that. You see, and that goes back to what we were just talking about with the modeling, right? You saw that and it influenced you heavy as a young girl, and then kind of brought it full circle to become the adult. Now, could you, at 10 years old, could you have ever imagined what you're doing now?
No, no, never, never. Mm-mm.
Well, did you have did you have goals or dreams of being something else? Like what or
When I was younger, I wanted to be a photographer. Like that was one of the things I wanted to do. I just love pictures, and I wanted to be a photographer. I thought that would be so fun. And of course, it changed over the years. As a kid most kids have multiple dreams that they want to do, you're right. But that was one. Like I wanted to be a photographer. And at one point I did decide I wanted to be a nurse, and that was it. But yeah, and when I was a 10-year-old shy little girl, no, no way would I imagine me doing what I am now. And I wrote a book. I'm an author. Like I never really enjoyed writing, like
okay, well share. Okay, so tell us the title of your book and what's it all about?
Okay, well, the title is Moving Forward, Details of an Autism Journey. And
Ooh,
it's right here,
all
but
right, look at
it's,
that.
yeah.
And where can we get it at?
Well, it's available on my website, so beyondradianthc.com, and also it's available on Amazon.
Okay.
And so this book, it was last year that I released it. So I call it my book baby. So this book baby is a year old, and it's really,
Congratulations.
thank you. It's about our journey from the time that our son was diagnosed with autism up until elementary school, like when he started elementary school. And so a lot of it talks about nutrition. We talk about leaky gut in the book, because that was one of the things that he was diagnosed with a long time ago. I didn't know what leaky gut was, but he was diagnosed with leaky gut. And we changed the diet. Like you said earlier, there's that relationship between the brain and the gut, and it can be healed. So we talk about preservatives in the book. I mentioned certain other things, like we had a naturopathic doctor that we still see now as needed.
Okay.
But she's been a part of our family for many years, and she was very instrumental in helping him to, I'll say, recover. Like now he is living independently and going to college. He's a junior.
That's amazing.
He's doing very well. We've had moments, but I feel like a lot of that started with the nutritional changes and being consistent. And that is why I'm so passionate about helping other parents, especially parents. Now, quite honestly, Eric, I have found that most parents that have kids newly diagnosed, they are more receptive to changing the diet.
Yeah.
Like they're more hungry for it and they want to know what else can I do, And so when I share all that I share, especially our journey, they are very open to making those changes because they want. I have had so many parents tell me, I want my son to go to college or I want my daughter to go to college. Like we don't know what the future holds for any of our kids.
Right, right.
But if we take the time to put in the effort and change, food it sounds so simple and it can be simple, but a lot of times I know it's not because if parents work and a lot of parents work, it takes time. It takes time.
And I find the challenge is, I know for myself, my wife and I, both entrepreneurs, she's the main cook, but there are times where I would hold her down on the weekends when she was out selling her, organic and vegan products, and I'd have to cook over the weekend. But to me, it's like, when you are not in control and not intentional about the snacks and the meals, the kids are always going to lean towards the lowest common denominator, right? What's the quickest thing I can grab and just put in my mouth, even after you teach them how to cook sometimes. So this is why you're right. Everything does start in the grocery store, or right, you got that Pluto and Virgo in the third house. I think of that with the farmers markets.
Oh yeah.
Gardening, right? So
Yeah.
are you a big advocate or believer in like going to the farmers market?
Oh, I love the farmers market. Oh my goodness. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, it's the small and simple things for me. I love a farmers market, my local farmers market. Yes. I love that. And growing up, my grandmother had a garden, so I love that. And I didn't really appreciate it when I was little, but now I do. And even though I don't have a garden where we are now, before in our previous home, I did have a garden for a few years, but now I don't. I have herbs and pots, but I love farmers market. I do. I love supporting and going to our local farms. Yeah. I love that. Absolutely.
And I think that what I like is that you can talk to them and find out, how they grow. Most of them are not going to use the chemicals and sprays, but you can talk to them. You can find out, and they have their different things, because I find that's where, you can still get a level of health. I mean, let's just be honest, right? Like it's, and it's really important. So what do you think about food going forward in the future? I mean, I get concerned. We hear about, the whole, I don't want to say the vegan movement, because it's past that. It's plant-based movement where you have the fake chickens and the fake fish and the fake burgers, but sometimes it can be worse than the actual meat because of what they're putting in this stuff. How do you navigate or help sometimes your clients, or just your thoughts on that in terms of eating like whole foods compared to like getting like your apple and your broccoli? Or, like if someone doesn't want to eat red meat anymore, but then they get this stuff that's got all the stuff in it, like how do you navigate that with your clients?
Well, I teach my clients to eat more from nature, less from a box, and like I told you earlier, I teach them how to read labels, and we go through that, but I teach them to eat whole food, when possible. We're not in a perfect world, so there are going to be times when you may have to have a frozen pizza or whatever. But then we talk about a healthier version of the frozen pizza, like we talked about with the candy, a healthier version of it. But I definitely want my clients to eat more, more things that are just one ingredient, just the broccoli or just the kale or whatever, the banana, but eat more. And I know that isn't always possible. And like we have people that are meat eaters, and they want the meat. And so I try to advise them, when possible, can you get organic, or just don't eat meat every night. It doesn't have to be a meal every night. We can have meatless meals. And I'm not a component, an advocate for I call it fake meat.
Yeah, the faux meat. Yeah.
No, I'm no, 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 no. Just like artificial sugars and artificial sweeteners and artificial preservatives are no, and the artificial meat and those products are no. If you look at the ingredient list, oh my goodness, like that's too long.
Yeah.
Your body can't digest that. And I try to explain to them your digestion, like how is your liver and your kidney supposed to process this? You are better off just getting some turkey, ground turkey, and make a turkey burger than trying to eat this. So everyone is different.
Right.
But I do not advocate for eating the fake meats, and all of that. It's very common now. I know we got this vegan phase, and I mean, people they have to be at peace with what they're eating, because I do feel like if you're eating a certain way because you feel like you have to, then that creates some sense of stress, and you don't need that. And that is contributing to that disease process. So you need to be at peace and be at peace with whatever decision you make with what you're putting into your body. But, God gave us one body, and it's a temple, and we need to take care of this temple that he has blessed us with and be
Keep
a
it
good
pure.
steward for that.
Keep the temple pure. Okay, that's perfect, because that's where I was mentally going to, and you just read my mind. So this is important, right?
Mhm.
We see it all through the Bible. I know it's also in the Torah and the Quran. How important, and how do you implement it, even with yourself and family and children and your clients? How important is fasting, doing cleanses, doing water cleanse, juice cleanse? Like, how do you suggest or recommend for people to kind of give your body and digestion a break to actually do a fast?
Yes. Well, we do, like our family, we do a fast. We do once a month, we do a fast, and sometimes on a personal level, if I feel like I need to fast beyond that, I will do it, but we talk about fasting. We talk about, just giving your digestion a break, to process and not have to work so hard, so we need to make sure we do that fast and we implement that and drink plenty of water. So we do talk about that, and that's not always easy for little children, though. Like,
Yeah.
it's not like it's I'm being quite honest, like it is a challenge for these babies to do that. They don't understand,
Right,
and
right.
oftentimes the adults are the ones doing it. In my experience, it's been difficult for the kids to do it, and I don't stress over that. I said they will get to it, like you talked about earlier, being that model. We educate, we model, and
Yeah.
then when they get to a certain point, they will understand, they will do that. But we can show them, we can be that example. But when the adults can do it, we take care of ourselves, then we can help them when it's that time for them to do that.
And do you ever do, or do you recommend, right? Because I like to do this, eating with the circadian rhythms of the sun, right? We're not supposed to really eat food after the sun sets,
Yes.
maybe not, not breaking our fast so early in the morning,
Mhm.
waiting to eat a little bit later. So how do you work with the sun or the clock in terms of digestion and eating your foods as well?
Yeah, that is something that's important. And, we talk about intermittent fasting, and people will start with, I guess, a longer window, and then they gradually work their way up to that smaller window, if you will. And then they start to, it becomes a habit, right? Like we have to start somewhere, but it becomes that habit. But that is so important. I'm glad you brought that up, that we do have to give our organs a break. They need to rest, so that they can repair, regenerate, and continue to support our bodies. So that's so important. And a lot of times, we just don't talk about that. It affects everything, your sleep, everything, your immune system, everything.
Well, I'm going to share a little astrology insight and tip with you that's really helpful for the audience and even for Miss Sonia and all her family, husband and children. Every month, because you said you like to do it once a month. Well, here's
Mm-hmm.
a way to even target it more precise and to be more effective. Every month when the moon in transit comes back, right? As we're recording today, the moon is entering into Cancer for 2.5 days, 60 hours.
Okay.
You're a Taurus. So let's say next month when the moon goes back to your Taurus sun sign, right? It's 2.5 days, so 60 hours. So even just for 2 days, it's an opportunity to regenerate and reactivate your cells on the cellular level, right? Healing our body. And when that moon returns back to your sun sign, for you Taurus, for me Virgo, for anybody out there, whatever your sun sign is, if you're a Cancer, right, you can do that, and you can do no drugs, no alcohol, no sex, no cursing,
Mm-hmm.
and do a intermittent fast, a juice cleanse, or just a water fast, or as much as you can. But
Mm-hmm.
that helps because we have the chrysalis oil that comes from our crown
Mm-hmm.
down to our body, to our root and solar plexus, right? And it's an opportunity to reactivate our cells in our body each month. So try that next month.
Mm-hmm.
You can look up on the computer,
Okay.
send you a text and let you know,
Yeah.
Sonia, the moon's getting ready to go into Taurus. Are you ready?
Okay.
You know,
Okay. Okay.
I've tried it, and it's a mind blowing.
But I don't have to do it just when the moon is going into my zodiac sign, right? Like you said, it's gonna start what,
Well,
tomorrow?
anybody. Well, let's say tomorrow. Right now, it's in Gemini and it's on its way to Cancer for the next 2.5 days. Right for, the it'll be there for the 22nd and 23rd. But that's for Cancer sun signs. It's the best time for them to do it. I'm just saying the most optimum time is when the moon in transit is back to your natal sun sign. So
Okay.
next month when it goes back into Taurus, that's the best time for you to do like a 2-day water fast or whatever it is. It could just be smoothies. And then
Yeah.
even that's how I would do it for the kids. It's
Okay.
something that I want to start to implement with the children
Mm-hmm.
where, you're right. They're like, oh, I gotta eat, right? But even if you just did one day and say, hey, let's do
Mm-hmm.
some fruit smoothies.
Mm-hmm.
Those taste good. Kids like it.
Yeah. Oh
And
yeah.
it's very helpful. I try to explain fruit is God's candy.
Oh yes.
You
Absolutely.
know,
Oh,
you
I
want
love.
something sweet, have an apple or an orange,
Yes. Get some berries.
blueberry,
Yes. Oh yes. I
you
love it.
know.
We have a blueberry bush in our backyard,
Oh,
and
stop it.
oh, I
I'm coming over.
and it's fun. My godson is 16 months old, and it's so fun to take him out, and he can't stop like eating those blueberries, like he can't get enough.
They are so good. All
Yes.
those berries, the antioxidants, right? The
Yep.
blueberries, the raspberries, cranberries, strawberries, blackberries,
Yeah,
they're the best.
they are.
And those are things that are so helpful. So, okay, so is there a book 2 in the works or
There has to be, absolutely. Yeah,
okay.
of course. Because this little boy is now in college. So there's
Oh,
definitely going to be, a continuation of the story. I have to share about that. And you mentioned a book I have to share with you, and I haven't shared this with a lot of people. So you're the first to hear that I have written a food journal. And it hasn't been published yet. Like I'm
okay.
working on that now, but that's one of the goals yeah, because like we talked about earlier, I share with my clients the importance of documenting and writing down what they're eating, what they're drinking. And so this has been something that has been heavy on my heart for so long, to have a food journal. So I created a 90-day food journal. And I am so excited when I release that, I will make sure I let you know. But yeah, that's something that's coming very, very, very soon.
I love that. That is beautiful. And so, where would you take the second book, though, in terms of the success, right? The proof is in the pudding
Mhm.
because you went through these early struggles to now him in college and him being on his own. Is it the book? going to take us on that journey of
Oh, yeah.
how the healthy food can help with the education and the learning?
Absolutely. I have to share because, you know, his middle school, high school, now he's in college. I mean, this kid got his driver's license on the first try. You know,
Oh
his
my God.
his older brother didn't even do that.
That's awesome.
He's neurotypical. So there's a lot of information that I have to share, and that will go in the book. So yeah, I'm excited. I have a name for it. You know, I have all of that in my heart and my mind. So I can't wait. But yeah, definitely that there will be a book too, for sure.
I love that. And then I have to make a joke of what you said because in my head I have to laugh. I'm like, really, what is neurotypical, right? Like,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
we're
Exactly.
all a little bit off in some way or the other. I mean, just with all the poisons and toxins and the fluoride
Yes.
and this, I mean, my poor little heart was broken because I like to eat fish, and then I've had worked with a bunch of different health people, and they're like, "Hey, there's a lot of parasites in the fish.
Mhm,
You should
mhm.
reconsider." And I'm like, "Oh no, don't tell me that."
Yeah.
I feel like there's I feel like there's nothing sacred anymore. We have to
Mhm,
really you just have to be very careful and very intentional. And I
mhm.
think it's about moderation. Don't
And
eat too much of one thing, right?
you're right. And also, Eric, detoxing, like you talked about, detoxing, because we don't live in a bubble. We are exposed to toxins, whether we eat, we drink, we breathe it in, we put it onto our skins, we are exposed to toxins. And so the naturopathic doctor that we still see now, years ago, she was the very first person who really introduced the importance of detoxing to us, and we still try to do that now. She was talking about the importance of detoxing at least twice a year,
Wow.
minimum.
Yeah.
And she suggests, and I agree, if you have a chronic or autoimmune disease, once a quarter,
Okay. That's
detox,
great advice.
support
Okay.
your liver and your detox organs, your skin, your lungs, your kidney, your digestive system. We have to, 'cause like you said, we are going to eat things. We may go somewhere. We may be at a wedding reception or our birthday party or whatever, and we don't know what's in that food, right? We can ask all the questions, but we don't know because we didn't prepare it. So we are going to be exposed unless you just never eat out. You only cook your own food. And who does that? Maybe some people do, but not most people. Most people do not do that. So
That's
that's why it's so important to detox and not stress out over it too. Stress, stress
yes.
will kill you. And so I also tell my clients, let's pick one thing at a time to implement, to change. We're not going to do everything in 6 weeks. We're not going to do everything in 6 months, but we can take one or two things that are very important, and it depends on that person and that family. People choose different things in different places where they want to start, but the important thing is being consistent. And once you master one thing, then you move on to another. But don't stress over it. Don't lose any sleep over that because that's not helping the situation at all.
Miss Sonia, this was so fun. I love this. So, as we get ready to wind down and wrap up, I want you to share your website and social media information again and let people know how they can reach with you and book. But do you have like just a closing thought or message, to inspire families or parents in terms of that first step, right? Sometimes it can feel scary or daunting, or the parents, let's be honest, a lot could be in denial. They see that their kid is different, but they feel like it's a slap against themselves, and people have egos and take it personal. How do people push through that and get real and honest with themselves so that they can get the proper help for themselves, their child, and their whole family?
Eric, I'll share what worked for me, and this is very personal, but I tell people they have to be still, to be quiet enough, and get into their that headspace and that heart space. For me, it was prayer.
Yes.
And you have to pray and just seek guidance. And there's hope. Like, we don't know what lies ahead for any of us. We just don't know. But we can be in tune to the guidance that we need, and we have to be quiet enough. And those parents that may not want that label, they may not want that diagnosis, it's okay. Sometimes we need that label, we need that diagnosis to get services.
Yeah.
And I tell people that, and it breaks my heart when there is a parent that doesn't want their child to receive a diagnosis because they don't want the label, but then the child struggles. So I do feel like we need to be quiet, be still, seek your spiritual guidance, and just move forward and know that there's hope. Like, this one word, whatever it is, doesn't indicate the future. It doesn't indicate, what's going to happen. We don't know that, but we are in control of our lives. We have to make those choices, and life is all about making choices.
I love that. And the right choice is to reach out to Miss Sonia Bell and get a session. Now, do you do like an intro
I
call
do
or
a complimentary. Yeah, I do a free 20-minute consult. Yep.
okay, yeah.
Yeah,
So
they
people
put
can
that on the website. Yeah, and,
okay.
and that's www.beyondradianthc.com. They can go there to schedule. They can DM me on Instagram at Beyond Radiant 422. They can find me on Facebook at Beyond Radiant Health Coaching. YouTube, it's Beyond Radiant. Beyond Radiant.
I love it. That that's so great and so helpful. And this was so much fun. And I tell people, listen, when you got to get on your knees and get in that prayer closet and call on Jesus, I like to call him, now, like call
Mhm.
my his real name Yeshua, but still, I'm like, hey, listen, when I was in coma for 40 days, that's who I called on. So
That's
there's
right.
power in the name. I said, God, Jesus, and I got,
Right.
and I'm here living. So I'm a testament.
That's right, Eric. That's right.
So,
My prayer closet, my family knows, do not disturb me when I am in my closet. And I am there every morning. I have my
mm,
one-on-one conversation with God every single morning.
that's
And sometimes throughout the day, a lot of times, we can't just do it in the mornings, but nowadays pray all the time. But
right.
yeah.
I love that. Well, this has been more than fun, and I cannot wait to have you back again, and we'll do this live in the new year. Would that be fun? Would you like to do that?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay,
Yes.
because I think it'd be good to start off the year. Although you guys know, anybody watching my channel, and please make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and go follow this woman, Beyond Radiant, right? Go follow her on YouTube and IG and all that stuff. But to start off the year with a new intention, a new goal, and we'll maybe, we can really focus on that and get specific with different, plans or stuff or different things that you represent or share with your clients and stuff because taking that first step, you guys, could be the beginning to a whole new life. We don't have to stay stuck in pain and depression and children having issues, spouse, your husband, your wife's out in terrible shape. It can just take that one phone call or one reaching out and going to beyondradianthc.com. But that initial step, sometimes one step forward, could be the path to changing your life for the better forever. So I definitely, this was exciting and definitely so glad to have you on today. And I just hope everybody enjoys it and feels inspired. And read your ingredients, people. Right? Tell them, Sonia, read your ingredients.
Read those labels.
Read them labels. My wife tells them that all the time, but she does it with the organic and vegan body and skincare. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's important too. What
That's right.
touches your body gets absorbed in your bloodstream in 26 seconds.
Amen.
You better
Amen.
stop using these terrible Vaselines and these lotions and deodorants with all these
Mm-hmm.
chemicals.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, you guys, this was episode 259. Knowledge is Love Astrology podcast. And thank you again, Miss Sonia Bell. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.